Alright, so one of the biggest lessons I learned as a photographer starting out was that you really need to make a plan for whatever shoot you're going into. Doesn't matter if it's sports, doesn't matter if it's portraits, right? Whatever it is, having a plan is going to get you better images. You can start doing some more creative things. You can get images that you want and practice techniques that you've wanted to try out. So let's take a look at 3 different examples of prep that I've done for games, whether it's Major League Baseball game, Ivy League swimming championships, and a portrait session with the Dartmouth softball team. For these Ivy swimming championships, I had to make sure I was getting the winners of the races, right? Celebrations, atmosphere, things that the Ivy League and the Ivy teams can use on their social medias or their websites. But I also needed to get as many photos of just all the swimmers as I could. It didn't matter if they were first place or 5th place, 6th place, right? The more I could get, the better that was gonna be for my client. Here's a clip of the finals of the 200 fly, and you can see how I sort of went into this race thinking about, all right, where do I need to be at the beginning, where do I need to be at the end, and how does that get me the photos I need? So at the beginning of this race, I'm at the end of the deck, opposite where the swimmers dive into the water, because for a fly, great photos when they're coming right at you, okay, and they're lifting their face out of the water. That's just a good angle, an easy angle to get a lot of the swimmers when they're coming at you. So when the race starts, I can focus on those fastest swimmers that are in those middle lanes. So I set up right in the middle of the pool, and I can shoot those 3, 4 coming straight at me, and then swivel to the sides and get the slower swimmers with not as good of an angle, but it's still a pretty good angle where you can see their face and see them swimming. So depending on how long the race is, you get a chance to have them coming at you once or twice, because when they're going away from you, you're not going to really get the best photos anyway, so I don't typically take those photos. Or I use that time to walk over to where they're going to finish, because when they're finishing, right, these are the finals, and I need to make sure I'm in between the swimmers and the scoreboard, because when swimmers finish, they typically touch, look up at the scoreboard, and if they break a record or something, right, they're really emotive, they celebrate, and you want to get those photos of them looking your direction. So you need to be between the swimmers and the scoreboard. So you can see I walk over that way towards the finish, and I get a couple images at the end, and then a couple images of the people celebrating or smiling, whatever it is. Because sometimes they're really emotive, and sometimes they knew they were gonna win, and that's it. So the key point here with this plan is just making sure that you're getting what the client wants and needs, and balancing that then with sort of what you want to get and more creative photos that you can get, because you need to know when you can take chances and when you have to focus on just getting what the client wants. So on those shorter races, right, you're just trying to hammer away, get as many of those good photos as you can of every swimmer, and then that's it. That's all you have time for. So during those longer races or during diving, you can practice different techniques, you can try to find different angles, things to get you more visually interesting photos than just regular swimmer taking a stroke. During the longer freestyle races, you can slow the shutter down, do a little drag. During the diving, I went and there's a big American flag in the background, and I wanted to line that up with the divers, and I had a lot of time because there was a lot of divers doing a lot of dives. And I would get those basic shots first. I knew I had those, and then I can just go back and do something just a little bit more creative. So making that plan, right, having that in your head, okay, here's the time I'm gonna be more creative, here's the time I'm gonna just focus on only getting what the client wants. All right, so when I'm shooting a Major League Baseball game, I'm typically photographing for USA Today, and they just basically want images that tell the story of the game. They want the 2 starting pitchers, they want anytime someone hits a home run or scores, right, they want a picture of that play, that batter swinging and hitting the ball, guys celebrating afterwards. Basic storytelling images of the game, nothing too fancy. I typically deliver 20 to 40 images depending on how many runs were scored, right, things that were happening that game. Now, this particular regular season game between the Giants and the Red Sox was a little bit different, and I had to sort of switch up what I typically do. Mike Yastrzemski was visiting, he's playing for the Giants, visiting Fenway Park for the first time. His grandfather, Carl Yastrzemski, was a legend on the Red Sox, right? So this is a big deal. It's his first time playing at Fenway Park. And right, that's gonna be the story of the game, is that he's playing at Fenway, so I need to make sure I get a lot of photographs of him, need to make sure that people know it's at Fenway Park, right? So he actually hit a home run during the game, and I typically wouldn't do a wide shot of an opposing player rounding the bases, but this time, right, it's Yastrzemski at Fenway Park, so I had to do a little bit wider to show him running around the bases and that he's at Fenway Park. Just doing that 5 minutes of Googling can set you up for success. Like this coming week, I'm gonna be photographing the Red Sox, and it's during the coronavirus, so there's just no fans, right? It's empty. And the story for the first couple games are gonna be empty stands, cardboard cutouts of fans in the stands, just players warming up, either wearing masks or people wearing gloves, all the safety precautions. So I already know that those 5 to 10 photos that I'm gonna get before I even get there, all right, I'm looking for those signs of hand sanitizers and social distancing and guys wearing masks and just all those precautionary measures, along with a wide angle view of the stadium while they're playing, of no fans and a close-up of the cardboard fans, right? I'm gonna get those images I already know, and it's 5 days before I'm even gonna go shoot. Okay, so doing that prep work helps just set you up for success. So for this shoot with Dartmouth softball, it was very different from the action photos of the previous 2 examples because we're getting portraits. They needed standard headshots for their website, and then they wanted action photos they could use on social media or programs, things like that. And then even a couple of slow motion videos that they can use. So there's a lot to get done in a limited amount of time. So knowing all this, knowing the number of players, knowing how many photos we needed to get, made a plan of, all right, here's where my lights are gonna be, here's the backdrop. These lights are gonna fire during the headshots. These lights are gonna fire during the portraits. These lights are gonna be on for video. Because all this was set up, I had a little bit extra time at the end. I could try something fun, try something that I haven't done before, except just with myself in this room. And it worked out pretty well. There's a couple things that I would change, and I know that going forward, but it didn't matter if I got the photos or not because it's not what they wanted. It was just something extra I could add on. When you can do that, something extra, because you had a plan, you stuck to it, it worked out really well. Now you have extra time to get that bonus content that's gonna keep your clients happy and make them rehire you or even recommend you to other paying clients. So now you can see why having a plan is very beneficial for all shoots, right? Portraits, action photos, whatever it is. Having that plan is gonna let you figure out what the client wants, get what the client wants, and then even give them some extra bonus content. Now that you've seen how I approach certain shoots, I hope that helps you figure out sort of what you can do better to prep and figure out how to get better images on your next shoot. All right, see you next time.